Besides our favorite lenses, there are specific ones that don't get used very often but are irreplaceable in action. Or they're just simply fun to play with from time to time. We can say that about fisheyes, tilt shifts, mirror lenses, macros, and ultra-wide angles. Now, considering what I shoot, getting a wide prime was a no-brainer, so that's what I did. As soon as I got into my X system, Laowa 9mm f2.8 was one of the first lenses I got. And even though I've changed quite a few cameras since then, I never got rid of this tiny and wide as hell Laowa. After the recent Fuji X Summit, I decided to make a small review of this lens, since there might be a rival from Fuji showing up on the horizon. Or not really. Hey, what up guys, it is Aperture Value with an all new episode. Today we're looking at my tiny but mighty Laowa 9mm f2.8. I'm shooting Fuji X Pro 3, so with it I purchased the Fujicron's Trio, which I've already reviewed on this channel, and in that episode I also mentioned the Laowa. Shamefully, I came up with a review of it only now. But I really should have included it into the Fujicron GAN review, because in my opinion, Laowa 9 2.8 is indeed a Fujicron that we deserved, but never got for some reason. If we're talking compact primes, there is a 16mm f2.8 which I also own, and there is a more narrow OG 18mm f2 which never got an update since its release all the way back in 2012, unfortunately. But even taking the whole lineup of Fuji X lenses, you can only go as wide as 14mm with prime or 10mm with a zoom. And yes, there is the magnificent 8-16 f2.8 zoom, but it's a more of a show-off piece, just like the recent 50 f1. 8-16 requires at least one of your vital organs to be sold, weighs like two cameras, big and bulky as and anyway, most would probably go with a more affordable 10-24 f4. I didn't even try to mount one of those to my X Pro, I already know that's ridiculous. So Laowa seemed to be an obvious choice for me. Do I really need such a wide prime? Do you need it? For me, it has been a great and easy solution to some of the challenges I face while shooting. Sometimes there's just too much you need to fit in, and in this case, 9mm can help you with that. Sometimes the space is just too tight, you have nowhere to back up, and super wide shot is the way to go. Or maybe you're just too lazy to compose. And even though I'm not a portrait photographer to throw opinions at you, but Laowa does let you utilize that wide angle of view to produce some interesting and unusual portraits. Even outside portraiture, a wide lens is a great tool for creating unusual shots with dramatic angles. So that is why I decided to just go with the widest lens possible, because you can always crop in if you need. Being the widest rectilinear prime for Fuji mount, it is no surprise I picked it up. So yeah, rectilinear means more or less straight lines and the right look. There are lenses wider than Laowa, but there are fisheyes which are totally different. Laowa 9 2.8 is a proper lens producing an image with 113° angle of view. Besides that, it is a part of Laowa's 0D line, and no, it does not mean friend zone. It means zero distortion, but we'll talk about that later. Aside from its crazy wide angle, there is more to it. I didn't exaggerate about Laowa being a Fujicron wannabe. It is comparable in size with others, has a similar weight of 215 grams, and what's more important, it has the same 49mm filter thread I use for my other primes. It is all metal, but of course it is manual focus and there are no any electronic contacts whatsoever. But with this wide angle, stopping down to f5.6 or f8 will get you everything in focus from the length of your stretched arm all the way to infinity. So I never really complained about that. Nevertheless, there are things that you can't ignore. Yes, some people are also ready to tell you about sample variation with this lens, and some of them aren't as sharp. Mine seems okay, but of course there is vignette, there is a loss of sharpness at wider apertures, but you know what? All of that is inherent to all ultra-wide angles. The distortion is far from advertised near zero, but better than others, which is already a plus. And don't think that I'm trying to defend it, no, I'm well aware that there are plenty of better performing wide primes out there, but not many are of such a compact and light form factor, including the filter thread and detachable lens hood. For that, I can forgive all the downsides of Laowa, and anyway I'm primarily shooting it at f8, so that minimizes all the vignette and sharpness problems. Besides, Laowa 9 2.8 is so far the widest prime out there for Fuji system. It can have good sun stars and honestly, it just gets the job done in that rare occasions I really need it, without the burden of carrying around something heavy like a wide zoom or a fast prime. A bit of magic in post and you're good to go. Creativity is your only limitation, and the trespass laws. Incidentally, there are many other third-party wide-angle options for Fuji on the market, but only Laowa ticks all the boxes for me. They are either too big and heavy or not too far from my 16mm, meaning not wide enough, or there is a huge fixed hood or no filter thread, or it has worse performance, etc. And I haven't mentioned the prices yet. Being released a while ago, Laowa is on the more affordable side of things, I would say. There are no primes as wide for Fuji, but you can adapt some compact wide-angle M-mount glass like Voigtlander 10 f5.6 or same Laowa 9mm f5.6. These would match the same angle of view, but the increased cost and bulkiness together with an M adapter are just not worth it. Fuji announced a new 8mm f3.5 prime to be released sometime next year, and it is an interesting option. A wide-angle prime from Fuji was on the top of my wishlist. While I don't worry much about the 3.5 aperture, on this channel we'll value any aperture, but a schematic picture of it tells me that this ain't gonna be a Fujicron size prime. Given that it will be an autofocus lens, which is kind of a waste on such a wide angle in my opinion, I don't expect it to be cheap. The price and the size alone are reason enough to doubt whether this new 8mm prime can replace my Laowa in the future. We'll need to see, I suppose. Until then, I would certainly keep using my 9mm Laowa Chrome to the widest extent possible. I have no regrets getting this lens, if you ask me. In fact, it is the one I have the longest for my Fuji, among others I own. If you don't have one, try! New angles and a splash of creativity are guaranteed. This is it for now. As always, drop a comment down below if you have any questions, hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.